You ever walk into a modern mega grocery store and just feel like you've crossed the threshold into some Las Vegas casino?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the absolute lack of windows, for one,
Right.
and, the bright artificial lighting, the whole layout that's basically designed to keep you walking in circles for hours.
Exactly. And there are just thousands of brightly colored packages everywhere, all of them like strategically engineered to grab your attention and totally disorient you.
Yeah, they really are.
You walk in just wanting to buy something healthy, right? And suddenly you're staring at a wall of, I don't know, 72 different types of wellness bars,
Oh, at least 72.
and you're completely paralyzed by choice. Well, we want to hand you a map out of that casino today. We are taking a custom deep dive into a really practical guide on clean eating that it strips away all that overwhelming noise.
Which is honestly so needed right now.
It really is. Our mission today is to shortcut your journey to being well-informed. We're going to extract the most essential, accessible, and, nutrient-dense staples you actually need to stock in your kitchen. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because before we even look at specific foods, we really have to address the core philosophy driving this whole approach. Because it starts with a surprisingly simple rule, which is drop the exotic superfoods.
Which is just a profound relief, honestly.
Right.
Because the wellness industry has essentially commercialized the entire concept of health. They've made it seem like this luxury commodity,
Like an exclusive club or something.
Exactly. You're constantly told that if you aren't importing, I don't know, Himalayan goji berries, or if you aren't buying $30 jars of adaptogenic mushroom powder,
Oh, man, the mushroom powders.
right, they tell you that if you don't have that stuff, you aren't really eating clean. But this source material, it just strips all of that away entirely.
Just throws it out.
Yeah. It establishes a baseline where simplicity is the ultimate metric for health.
Okay, so the healthiest foods are just the most basic staples. But, and if we are being critical for a second here, is this really groundbreaking?
Well,
Because if the healthiest foods are just basic, simple staples, is clean eating just like a modern rebrand of a 1950s grocery list?
that's a funny way to put it, yeah.
Like, why do we feel so overwhelmed in modern grocery stores if the ultimate solution has just been basic simplicity this whole time?
What's fascinating here is how food landscape, and really the psychology of shopping itself, has been fundamentally weaponized against that simplicity.
Weaponized, wow.
Yeah, think about the modern food environment for a second. The basic staples haven't actually changed since the 1950s, like you said.
Huh.
But the signal-to-noise ratio absolutely has.
No, because of all the processed stuff.
Right. We're dealing with hyper-palatable, ultra-processed foods, things that are literally chemically engineered to hit your brain's dopamine receptors.
Just hijacking your brain.
Exactly. And they're wrapped in billions of dollars of marketing. So that overwhelm you feel in the store, it isn't accidental. It is decision fatigue.
That makes so much sense.
Right. And when you are trying to change a habit, the biggest enemy is always friction. If eating clean requires you to learn 20 new ingredients,
And navigate all these specialty aisles.
yeah, and stretch your budget on top of all that, the friction's just way too high. So you default back to the processed, convenient options
Because it's easier.
because it's easier. But by redefining health as a return to absolute baseline simplicity, you eliminate that friction entirely.
Which means you can actually, execute the plan without needing a master's degree in nutritional science.
Exactly.
And I feel like that naturally brings us to how we feel the body on a daily basis. The notes we are looking at identify two specific categories as the foundational engines for your energy, and those are leafy greens and whole grains.
The absolute workhorses of a good diet.
Right. Now, we all know greens like spinach, kale, arugula, Swiss chard, we know they're loaded with micronutrients. I mean, nobody needs a reminder that spinach is good for them.
Hopefully not, yeah.
But what really stands out here is the sheer functional utility for a beginner.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The biological return on investment is just massive for the amount of time spent.
Right. They provide immediate nutritional value, but they take mere minutes to prepare. You aren't, learning some complex culinary technique here.
No, not at all.
You just throw a handful into a smoothie, or went them into a soup, or literally just saute them in a pan with some garlic. It is high-yield nutrition with almost zero friction.
And from a physiological standpoint, those greens are delivering the essential vitamins and minerals your cells actually need
Yeah.
to run their basic metabolic processes. They're the spark plugs.
The spark plugs. I like that.
But, spark plugs don't run the car on their own. You need the fuel.
And that is where the whole grains come into play, right?
Hmm.
We're talking about things like oats, quinoa, brown rice, farro. But here is my hang up, though. If oats and brown rice are still, at the end of the day, carbohydrates, aren't they just getting broken down into sugar in the body anyway?
Well, yes, technically.
So why are we prioritizing them as this steady foundation if it all just ends up as glucose?
Because the rate of that conversion changes everything about how your body functions. It's the difference between an explosion and a controlled burn.
Okay, walk me through that.
So when you consume refined grains,
Hmm.
think white bread, standard box pastas, the milling process has stripped away the bran and the germ.
So it's just the pure starch left.
Exactly.
Mm.
Your digestive enzymes have immediate, unrestricted access to those starches, converting them into glucose super rapidly.
Wow.
So you get this massive spike in blood sugar, followed by a massive release of insulin, which inevitably leads to a huge crash.
It's like building a fire in a fireplace, right?
Yeah.
Eating those refined grains is like throwing lighter fluid onto your logs.
That is a highly accurate analogy.
You get this massive, unstable, immediate spike of roaring flames. And it looks great for a second, but then 10 minutes later, it completely burns out, the fuel is gone, and you're freezing again.
Yes, exactly. Whole grains, on the other hand, retain their natural cellular matrix.
Right.
They contain the fiber, which literally acts as a physical barrier in your digestive tract.
Wait, a physical barrier?
Yeah. When you eat, say, a bowl of farro, your body has to work physically and chemically harder to dismantle that structure. The fiber creates a sort of viscous gel in your stomach and intestines.
Okay.
And that gel slows down the enzymatic breakdown of those carbohydrates.
So they act like a dense, slow-burning log on that fire.
Precisely. You get a steady, reliable, titrated release of glucose into your bloodstream. No lighter fluid spike. No insulin crash.
That's incredible.
There really is. It's just a constant drip of energy that keeps your brain and muscles functioning optimally for hours.
So you combine the rapid prep, high micronutrient spark plugs of the leafy greens, right?
Huh.
With the slow-burning, complex carbohydrate logs of the whole grains. You are fueling the immediate cellular needs while stabilizing your macro energy for the entire day.
It's the perfect combination.
So that covers the energy engines. But if the grains and greens keep the fire burning, what actually rebuilds the fireplace itself?
Ah, good question.
That leads us straight into the building blocks that keep the body sustained and repaired, which are proteins and fats.
And this is notoriously where the most confusion lies.
Yeah.
Especially for anyone, transitioning away from a highly processed diet.
The first massive misconception we need to dismantle is about protein. There is this pervasive myth that to eat clean, you have to immediately adopt a strict vegan or vegetarian lifestyle.
Right, which just isn't true.
Yeah, looking through these notes, it's explicitly clear that clean eating is about the quality and the processing of the food. It's
Right.
not necessarily about the exclusion of all animal products.
No, it ultimately comes down to amino acids. Amino acids are the literal building blocks of your muscles, your neurotransmitters, your immune system. And honestly, your body doesn't care if those amino acids come from a plant or an animal.
Really?
No. What it cares about is the packaging.
Right, the packaging being how processed the source is.
Exactly.
And the examples provided here are brilliantly accessible. Eggs, for instance.
A perfect example.
They are incredibly affordable. You can cook them in like 3 minutes, and they are one of the most bioavailable sources of protein on the planet.
Yep. And on a plant-based side, you have beans and lentils. They cost pennies, they sit in your pantry for months, and they bring a massive hit of plant-based protein.
Plus, they're just easy to add to things.
Oh, for sure. And we shouldn't overlook the secondary benefits of those beans and lentils either. They bring a significant amount of resistant starch.
Which does what, exactly?
It ferments in your large intestine and literally feeds your gut microbiome. So you're getting the structural building blocks from the protein while simultaneously strengthening your digestive health.
That's a huge win-win. But if you prefer meat, the rule of simplicity still applies, right?
Absolutely. A simple roast chicken or maybe a fillet of salmon baked with a little lemon.
As opposed to heavily processed deli meats injected with like a ton of sodium and preservatives, or those prepackaged deep-fried chicken patties.
Exactly. The goal is the amino acids, but without all the chemical baggage.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because right after protein, we have to tackle fats.
The dreaded fats.
Right. For a beginner who might still have that, old school 1990s diet mentality of fearing fats because they're calorie dense. This can be a really tough pill to swallow.
It's hard to unlearn that stuff.
It is, but the notes say point blank, quote, "Don't fear fats, your body needs them," end quote. We're looking at things like avocados, raw nuts, seeds, extra virgin olive oil.
All fantastic choices.
I get that they are natural, sure, but how does eating a handful of almonds as a mid-afternoon snack actually help your energy levels instead of just, weighing you down with dense calories?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it completely dismantles that outdated calorie in, calorie out obsession.
Okay, how so?
Healthy fats serve two critical, absolutely non-negotiable biological functions: nutrient absorption and hormonal satiety signaling.
Let's start with absorption.
Okay, let's look at absorption first. Think back to those leafy greens we talked about, the spinach and the Swiss chard.
The spark plugs.
Right, the spark plugs. Those greens are packed with vital nutrients like vitamin A, vitamin K, and vitamin E.
Tons of vitamins.
But those specific vitamins are fat-soluble. That means their molecular structure literally requires a lipid of fat to dissolve and be transported across the intestinal wall and into your bloodstream.
Wait, so if I eat a massive bowl of dry spinach, or if I use one of those fat-free chemical dressings,
You are passing a significant portion of that nutritional value straight through your digestive tract and literally down the drain.
are you serious?
I am. Your body physically cannot access those vitamins without a lipid vehicle. You literally need the extra virgin olive oil drizzled on top or the crushed walnuts mixed in to unlock the nutrition in the greens.
Wow.
The fat is the chemical key to the cellular lock.
That fundamentally changes how you look at a salad. I mean, the olive oil isn't some guilty pleasure or a flavor add-on that you should feel bad about and restrict. It's a biological necessity to make the greens actually work.
Exactly the right framing.
That's wild. Okay, what about the second part, the almonds weighing you down?
Right. Regarding your question about the handful of almonds,
Right.
it's actually the complete opposite due to how fats interact with your hormones.
Okay.
When you consume healthy fats, they trigger the release of a hormone called cholecystokinin, or CCK, in your gut.
CCK, got it.
And this CCK travels up to your brain and just flips the satiety switch. It tells your central nervous system, hey, we have dense, valuable energy here. Stop the hunger signals.
So a handful of almonds provides a dense energy source that stops your hunger hormones dead in their tracks, which prevents you from reaching for like a highly processed sugary snack at 3 p.m. that would cause one of those later fluid crashes we talked about.
Yes, it acts as a metabolic anchor.
Mm.
It is a complete paradigm shift from the old low-fat everything culture.
Which, if I remember right, usually just replaced fats with refined sugars to make the food taste palatable anyway.
Spot on. Which led to the exact blood sugar roller coasters we talked about earlier.
Okay, so the biological mechanics make total sense. We have our greens and grains for steady energy, our proteins for structural repair, and our healthy fats for nutrient absorption and hormone signaling.
It's a beautiful system.
It is, but balancing these macronutrients, your carbs, proteins, and fats, that's great in theory, knowing the biochemistry doesn't magically make the grocery store less overwhelming when you actually walk inside.
No, it definitely doesn't.
Executing this without falling prey to decision fatigue is the real challenge. But fortunately, the execution strategy laid out here is incredibly practical. And it starts with a surprisingly elegant rule of thumb for navigating the produce section.
I love this rule. This might be the most valuable heuristic for anyone trying to eat clean in a really complex environment.
The rule is simply this. If it grew in the ground, on a tree, or on a vine, it's a good choice.
It's brilliant
Yeah.
because it bypasses the need to read complex nutritional labels entirely.
Right. If it's an apple, it doesn't have an ingredient list.
Exactly. You don't have to worry about hidden sugars or weird preservatives.
And the guide highlights things like berries, noting they are low in sugar but incredibly high in antioxidants.
Right.
Or it points out apples and pears as the ultimate natural grab-and-go foods. It also heavily stresses buying what is in season locally.
Which isn't just about culinary snobbery, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Seasonal produce hasn't spent weeks in a cold storage transit container, slowly oxidizing and losing its nutritional potency.
Ah.
When you buy seasonal local stuff, it is biologically active and at its absolute peak flavor profile.
That makes a ton of sense. But the actual strategy for shopping, like the tactical execution, is what really caught my eye.
It's very counterintuitive.
It is. The advice is explicit. Do not try to buy everything at once.
Which goes against literally every human instinct we have when we suddenly decide to get healthy on a Sunday afternoon.
Oh, absolutely. The impulse is to just throw out everything in a pantry, buy 100 new organic ingredients, and meal prep for 7 hours.
Right, which lasts exactly 3 days before you burn out.
Exactly, because it just spikes the friction we talked about earlier. The strategy suggested here is to pick just 2 or 3 categories to focus on at first.
Small steps.
Right. Maybe this week you only worry about keeping leafy greens and one healthy fat stocked. You design your kitchen environment so that when you're hungry and tired after work, it's actually easier to reach for a clean option because it is already there.
It is the architecture of choice.
Mm.
You are designing your physical environment to make the right choice the path of least resistance.
And doing that leads to a fascinating psychological phenomenon they call the crowd out effect.
I really think this is the secret weapon of the whole approach.
It really is. The idea is that when you intentionally fill your cart and your stomach with these whole, real food staples, you naturally have less space for the highly processed items. It kind of reminds me of packing a suitcase for a long trip.
Oh, how does that apply here?
Well, if you intentionally pack all your essential clothes first, the sturdy shoes, the heavy jackets, the things you absolutely need, your suitcase gets full pretty fast.
Right.
You physically do not have room left to blindly throw in all the random, useless junk you don't actually need but might have grabbed on an impulse.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If you prioritize filling your grocery cart and your daily meals with the heavy-hitting essentials first, the hyper-processed junk naturally gets crowded out. You just don't have the capacity for it anymore.
That is a highly effective psychological tactic,
Mm.
mostly because it leverages our natural aversion to restriction.
What do you mean by that?
Well, traditional diets fail because they are built on deprivation.
Always telling you what you can't have.
Exactly. When you tell someone they are strictly forbidden from having something, the brain fixates on it.
Oh, for sure. You just want it more.
Right. It becomes an obsession, which leads to diet fatigue and eventual collapse.
Yeah.
But the crowd-out strategy focuses entirely on what you are adding.
It's a mindset of abundance.
Exactly. It's completely flipped. When you focus on adding delicious seasonal berries and rich avocados and hearty grains to your day, the mindset shifts.
You don't feel deprived.
No, you naturally learn to enjoy simple, complex flavors without feeling like you're punishing yourself. The processed foods aren't banished, they just become irrelevant.
Because your biological and psychological needs are fully met by the whole foods.
Precisely.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, the next time you have to navigate those grocery store aisles? Well, it means you have a functional biological map now. We are completely ditching the pressure of culinary perfection.
Absolutely.
We are skipping the expensive exotic superfoods that promise miracles in a powdered jar. Instead, we are focusing on a few simple, reliable mechanisms.
Leafy greens for immediate micronutrients.
Right. Whole grains as a physical fiber barrier for slow-release energy. Minimally processed proteins to rebuild your cells. Healthy fats to unlock those fat-soluble vitamins. And seasonal fruits for natural abundance.
Such a robust, simple system.
By intentionally stocking up on those, you naturally crowd out all the engineered noise. You build a foundation of absolute quality through basic simplicity.
This raises an important question, though.
Oh.
Yeah, one that extends slightly beyond our source material today, but I think it is absolutely crucial as we look at the trajectory of our food system.
Okay, let's hear it.
We relied really heavily today on that wonderful rule of thumb, right? If it grew in the ground, on a tree, or on a vine, it's a good choice.
Yeah, nature's packaging.
But as food technology rapidly advances, with the introduction of lab-grown meats cultivated from cellular agriculture and genetically hyper-altered produce designed to express, very specific flavor profiles.
Right, things are getting very sci-fi.
They are. So where will we draw the line in the future on what constitutes growing in nature versus being manufactured in a lab?
Wow.
If a lab-grown chicken breast has the exact identical amino acid profile as a farm-raised one, but requires zero environmental land use, is it clean?
That's a tough one.
As technology completely blurs the line between a traditional farm and a sterile laboratory, how will our foundational definition of clean eating have to evolve?
That is a deeply fascinating thought to chew on, as the definition of whole food really gets pushed to its technological limits.
It's coming faster than we think.
The landscape of what we eat is going to change dramatically in the next decade. But hopefully, the foundational principles of biological simplicity we unpacked today will remain a solid anchor for how you fuel your body.
I believe they will.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. We curated this exploration specifically to help you navigate your own learning journey, and we really hope it arms you with the exact mechanics you need. So the next time you step through the automatic doors of that grocery store, you won't feel like you are wandering blindly through a Las Vegas casino. You'll have your map, you'll understand the biology of your choices, and you'll know exactly how to walk right past the flashing lights of the processed aisles. Until next time.